All right, welcome to Damon Bruce Plus. Here we are on Friday, August 8th, and I want to introduce you, if you have not met him yet, to Brandon Cristal. This is a guy that I met when we were both doing weekends on CBS Sports Radio approximately, what, was that 3 million years ago, or does it only feel like 3 million years ago?
It does. It's funny. It feels a lot longer than it actually was when you say it in years, because some of these years feel long with some of the stuff we do. You're like, oh, that was 2013, January, February, and I was out of there by March. I was there for 11 weeks and back in Denver after I call it an 11-week, very well-paid internship.
Well, yeah. I tell you, we made beautiful music in those 11 weeks together. We really did. I've been a fan of yours ever since. And now Brandon is running his own thing, Guerrilla Sports in Denver. He's a Kansas Jayhawk guy, but this Hoosier's not going to hold that against him, at least not for this show anyways. We'll go back to war once college basketball begins. But Brandon has been around the Denver sports scene for a long time, and he's been around the Denver Broncos for a very long time as well. So you're the perfect guy to talk about what we will be seeing tomorrow afternoon and a little bit of what everybody saw of the joint practices yesterday. And if there's one thing that I think everyone can agree on is that Denver came out and put a stranglehold on this joint practice, and it wasn't until later on where the 49ers actually got their feet underneath them.
Yeah, and I was disappointed I couldn't make it work to get out there for the preseason game as well. But you know how both scheduling and budgets can work sometime to make it a little tricky. But I talked to plenty of people that were there on the team side, and obviously a handful of media pals that were there. And it did seem like certainly early on the Broncos set the tone, which isn't always what we've seen with the Broncos in joint practices. A couple of years ago, Sean McVay and the Rams came in here, and they really took it to the Broncos. And on day two, the Broncos kind of were able to bounce back and make it respectable. And I think a lot of teams are going away from the 2-day interaction anyway, because by day two, you get more chippiness and all of that. But and I think a big reason the Broncos set that tone was because of this defense. And for all the hype, and I know we're going to talk about where the Broncos and their expectations are, it's because they have a defense, and we know defense travels. And even without Dre Greenlaw and without Alex Singleton out there yesterday, they're still setting a tone defensively, and that sets the tone, I think, for the whole team.
Well, look, the Denver Broncos are getting an awful lot of buzz here, and it's Super Bowl whispers turning into actual public conversations about the chances of them doing that. This has to do, obviously, with Bo Nix having a very good debut year. This has to do with the confidence that Sean Payton inspires in a football team. But this is a defensive football team. This defense is pretty damn nasty. And if like any football team, this is going to be a special year. That's the hallway you're going to walk down to get there.
Yeah, and in a division where you've got an extremely talented Justin Herbert, and obviously a big blow to the Chargers yesterday, losing their left tackle. But you know that coming off a playoff appearance in year two with Jim Harbaugh, you got to think, at least on paper, they're a better football team in terms of understanding exactly what he wants to do and all that. Now they don't have Joey Bosa anymore either. So we'll see where the Chargers are. The Raiders are certainly going to be improved. You can't be bad or whatever they were, 5 wins, and then add Pete Carroll and get worse, add the best running back in the draft and get worse, add a solid player in Geno Smith. I don't think anybody's putting a gold jacket on Geno. And then we're, of course, not even getting to the Chiefs, 3-time Super Bowl appearances, 3 in a row rather, and obviously 3-time champs with Patrick and Andy Reid and of course Kelsey. So they have to have a defense that will be ready to play every week. But they led the NFL in sacks a year ago, and they add a couple of just head knockers in Talanoa Hufanga, who's had a great training camp so far. He's picked off Bo Nix, and he's been all over the place. And he and Brandon Jones, the starting safety opposite of him, seem to be on the same page. They have the same DB coach in college, I guess. It went from Brandon to Huff's college coach. So they have a kind of the same, baseline. And then Dre Greenlaw, not once, but twice, Kyle Shanahan, who I've known forever. Kyle told me at the owners' meetings, like one time, totally, this is the interaction. He tells me earlier, man, I can't believe you guys have Greenlaw. He's so great, and this is kind of in a media setting. Then the last day, coaches kind of take it easy. Jay Glazer puts a picture of all the coaches hanging out by the pool at the Breakers.
Right.
And I happen to have my mom and my kids with me because my mom was there in Florida. So she's watching the kids. I'm waiting for Goodell. Then we go hang out by the pool. As we're leaving, I see Kyle and Mike McDaniel and Sean McVay and Glazer and a couple other guys. And my mom's got her Longhorns backpack. She's a proud Longhorn. I was like, hey, Mom, this is Kyle. He's the Longhorn too. And I don't say anything else. And so He's like, hey, nice to meet you. And he goes, man, I can't believe that you guys have Greenlaw. So that was a second time, totally relaxed. And so that gives you the idea of an idea of how much Kyle really is going to miss Dre Greenlaw, the person and the player.
If healthy, he's a game record. He's awesome. I mean, he really is. It's a shame. But again, guess who wasn't practicing yesterday? Dre Greenlaw. And that, Dre Greenlaw, off the field, great guy, but off the field isn't helping you on the field. If he's on the field to help you, that defense just gets better. Another guy, and I was talking about this with Larry Krueger, who I do 49ers Wake Up with, Talanoa Hufanga was out there practicing yesterday. That's the guy you want to come home and marry your daughter. This is a gentleman in the first degree, just well-raised, great guy, and really good player that I'm surprised that the 49ers actually moved on from, but they did it because they thought that Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa were just, reinvestments, younger, unhurt. Let's get them in there. And we'll see whether or not they regret that decision. Eyeballs tomorrow on the game. Where are your eyes? Obviously, first preseason game, how much of the starter is actually going to play, if at all, is always a question. So where are your eyeballs going to be Saturday come 5:30, the first drive of this game? What are you most interested in watching and seeing the Denver Broncos prove in their first preseason game?
Just that they are committed to running the football more. And Sean Payton has indicated that is a primary focus, but we know Sean's one of the best play designers we've ever seen, certainly in the passing game. And even when he's had 1,000-yard rushing, he's only had it 3 times. I want to say Mark Ingram might have been 2 of them, and Deuce McAllister early on. They were just a touch over 1,000 yards rushing, because I don't think Kamara's had 1,000 yards rushing, or didn't with Sean. There's well over 1,000 all-purpose yards. But Sean Payton's offenses always lead the league in throwing the ball to the running back. They're always top 3, top 5, if not number 1. And we understand that. A short passing game can replace a run game, but they go out and sign J.K. Dobbins late in the spring, summer. He gets in the final week of that mandatory minicamp. They draft R.J. Harvey in the second round. I think we'll see Harvey a little bit tomorrow. I imagine we'll see Dobbins just a touch too. We will see starters. Sean Payton's indicated starters are going to play. We saw Pete Carroll play his starters. We saw with
Nix.
With Zach. I think we will see Bo Nix for I think we see him for a drive, or if it's 3 and out, maybe you see him for 2 drives. But I don't think they're going to do much to put him in harm's way. It'll be more vanilla than when we saw Bo a year ago. You're not going to do a lot of game planning in the preseason, but there's plenty of people who accuse Sean Payton of game planning maybe a little more than you normally would for his rookie QB to put him in a good spot. But it worked because Bo had a great preseason, obviously a tremendous regular season for a rookie QB. So I do think we will see Bo Nix. That means you'll see the entire starting O-line. But Sean, he comes from that Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick world of we're going to put Tom Coughlin always, I remember, and Andy Reid does it with Patrick Mahomes, but Tom Coughlin would play them 1 quarter with the starters, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, and then a full game almost with Eli Manning, which I always thought was interesting when everyone else was sitting there, their starting QB. So I think we'll see, I don't know how much we'll see in that third preseason game in New Orleans, but I think we'll see the starters a little bit tomorrow and plenty more next week when they host Arizona.
I want to talk a little bit about Sean Payton because, what's the difference between the guy who came to Denver from New Orleans and the guy you're looking at right now? What is the Sean Payton secret sauce? I feel like there's an awful lot of similarity almost between he and Shanahan, except Payton put the pelt on the wall. Shanahan's never been able to do that.
Yeah, but they are cut from the same cloth, and maybe it's an Eastern Illinois thing. Obviously, Kyle, is his dad's son for better or worse, and I think it's made him a great coach. But sometimes he can be a challenge, I think, to work with. I don't think about play for. I think most players that played for him have loved playing for Kyle, but I know some of his fellow coaches maybe haven't always had the best experience because he demands so much. But yeah. I think he comes by that honestly. And Sean's kind of similar. Sean was a quarterback at Eastern Illinois, an okay one, not a great one. As he talked about in that excerpt that we know Seth Wickersham always writes great stuff. But if you saw it on ESPN.com, or if you haven't, you should check it out, where it's an excerpt from Seth's new book about the quarterbacks. I think it's called American Kings, making an NFL quarterback or something. He talks to a million people. But Sean talked about processing speed. Guys like Drew Brees, certainly Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Bo Nix has that. And I think that Brock Purdy probably has that as well.
He does. Sean said one might argue that's the single best trait.
Yeah, maybe so. And Sean didn't have that. He said, I didn't have that. And that's why I was only good enough to play, some small, whatever, minor league ball and then be a strike player. But Drew Brees had it. Russell Wilson may not have it. Russell has so many physical traits. Before Patrick Mahomes came along, Russell was probably the best off-schedule quarterback you've ever seen. So that you don't accidentally throw 350 touchdowns in the NFL against 100 and something picks, but staying on time. And Sean Payton has designed this offense. I go back to Chris Sims telling me at the combine, you don't have Sean Payton to run 8 plays. You have Sean Payton to run 8 million plays. Kyle has 8 million plays. Right. And we can see that Bo Nix can process quickly enough to get through those 8 million plays. And so I think it's that simple. He came into a situation, he didn't know the owners, but knew they had resources. He now knows Greg Penner, who certainly runs the day-to-day. I know it's a Walton Penner family ownership group. Rob Walton comes to home games. He lives down in Arizona. He's not involved in anything day-to-day. Greg Penner, his son-in-law, and his daughter Carrie are there every day. And Greg was the chairman of the board or he was the CEO of Walmart forever, chairman forever, a hedge fund guru out there in the Bay Area. They have strong ties to Stanford, we know.
He's professional rich people.
So he knew, about him, but now he knows him. So he has owner that'll check every box, and they're going to, when they do that player survey, you're going to see that the Broncos are going to finish very high in all of them. They're building a new $300 million practice facility. And he knew he had some players, but wanted to move on from some of the guys that had been here for a while just to kind of change the culture a little. Guys like Brandon McManus, who was the last of the Super Bowl players on the roster. I get he's a kicker, but he's a loud kicker, if you will, not your normal kicker. Justin Simmons, everyone's favorite guy, great in the community, really good player, several Pro Bowls, but moved on from him. Kept a couple, kept Cortland Sutton, kept Garrett Bowles, and then a handful of pieces here and there. DJ Jones, obviously a former Niner that was here when he got here. But so you're trying to change the culture, and then it just never worked with Russ, and we don't have to rehash that. But then he goes out, he identifies his guy, finds his guy, now has his guy, and is telling everybody that'll listen that he loves Bo Nix. Diana Rossini told a story. She's told it now multiple times where Sean Payton called her this summer. She missed the call. He left a message and said, "Hey, just check it in. Want you know, I love my Q." That was it. That was the whole message. So he's got this young quarterback that he loves. He's got maybe the best defense in football and some solid players around Bo Nix, certainly up front. And I think that it's that simple. When you got the resources, they changed the team plane because Sean wanted the team plane changed. They changed the hotels they stayed at because he wanted an uptick. You can't stay at Ritz's or Four Seasons, but you can stay at a JW if there's one available. So stuff like that. And it's all kind of come together, and his coaching staff is meshing really well with old guys that he's had before around him, whether they played for him or worked for him, as well as some of the new guys that have integrated really well. By the way, check out the old jingle. CBS Sports Radio. Oh, yeah, that was it. That was absolutely it. Thank you, Otis. And thanks to everyone for being here. Again, we're brought to you by Ike's Sandwiches. I don't know where you're going for lunch today. Get yourself to Ike's. He's got one in Denver now, I believe. He does. It's 2 exits up from me on the highway. And I saw Ike, he makes his way around the Super Bowl the last couple of years. Yep. And I'm like, when are you going to open more? And that one's close. But I'm like, look, it does well. I know, because every time I go in there, there's a nice little Line. And Ike's is great. And I think he has an Ed McCaffrey sandwich that he said Christian was annoyed by, or would be annoyed by, that there was an Ed sandwich before there was a Christian sandwich. Well, look at it this way. I beat them both to it. Look at me. I'm nicely done. There you go, baby. I'm a sandwich. I hope I'm available for you in Denver. Let me just say, the next time, if you are in the Bay Area, I'm going to bring you to the Dubliner West Portal, one of the best bars in San Francisco. Thanks to them for. I'll be there Super Bowl 60. I'll be there Super Bowl week, so I want to go to the Dubliner with you. I'm done. First round's on me. I promise you that. We'll go to the Dubliner West Portal, and we'll do it right. Brandon Cristal of Denver here, talking a little bit about 49ers and Broncos tomorrow. Let's say the Denver Broncos cease to exist as an organization. There is a dispersal draft. Who is the number one pick of the Denver Bronco dispersal draft heading into this year? I'm not talking about future projection. The football player you're going to get this year is coming off the Denver Broncos. Who would be your first overall pick? Is it Surtain? Yeah, I was going to say, you'd be surprised if it was anyone other than the reigning defensive player of the year, who's 25 years old and is just getting better. And it's funny because I got to cover Champ Bailey. This is my 19th full season covering the team. I got here at the end of 2006, so 20 seasons around the team. There was just a couple games when I got here. So I got to see Champ Bailey from 2006 until he retired in 2013. And he's one of my all-time favorite players to cover. And you saw excellence every single day with some really good players that came in around him, Hall of Fame guys. I mean, John Lynch was here when I got here for those couple of years as he was going to 4 straight Pro Bowls to finish his career. Brian Dawkins finished his career here. DeMarcus Ware, certainly Von Miller. And so to see a guy, though, but going back to Champ, that you're like, okay, first ballot Hall of Famer like he was, often overlooked because East Coast bias. People put Darrelle Revis ahead of him in terms of contemporaries. Football people don't. And so there's that. To see a kid, PS2, who's taller, maybe faster, which is crazy because Champ was really fast. But PS2's had not 1, but 2 interceptions that he returned that were as fast as any defensive player has run with a football since Next Gen Stats has been keeping it. And so he's really fast. He's really long. He's super smart. He's a good tackler. He's a willing tackler, and he's been great in coverage. So he's maybe got a chance, and it's early, but we haven't ever seen a corner. There's been 6 corners win Defensive Player of the Year. Champ Bailey wasn't one of them. We've never seen any of those corners win it twice. And I'm not saying he's going to win it again this year, but if he has the Hall of Fame type career that he's certainly on pace for, he might be the first ever corner to win it more than once. And he's a great player, great person, great in the community, raises so much money with his foundation. It's just a couple of years old. I'm lucky to get to MC a couple of those events. So I'm a little biased, but I think if you ask any other football person, as much as they might like Nick Bonito off the edge or like what Bo Nix is about and all that. And, you know, we could look at some of the other players. Dre Greenlaw, when healthy, we'll see if he can ever, maybe he can surpass a Fred Warner if he can stay on the field for a couple of years and become truly great. But no, it's PS2 first and last is the guy you're taking if you get to pick anyone.
I got to ask you a quick Nuggets question. What is
Sure.
what is more likely to happen? Jokic at the end of this contract really does go back to Bratislava to be a horse trainer, or he's a Los Angeles Laker? Which is more likely?
Oh, I think it's more likely that he goes back to Serbia before he goes to the Lakers. I just think that the end of this contract isn't the real indicator. He passed up a 3-year extension because next year you can sign a 4-year extension that'll give him $80 million more, and you can buy a lot more horses with $80 million more. I did ask him on his 30th birthday, and he just had a little boy. He has a daughter who's about 4. His son's now 6 months old, 8 months old. But this was, or I guess, February. So the baby was born October, November. And I said, hey, do you think you might stick around? Because I think we saw Drew Brees do this. Do you think you'll stick around longer and play so your son can see you? He goes, no, I'm selfish. I won't. And I do believe that to some degree, but it's easy to say that when your son's 6 months old, your daughter's 4 months old. When all of a sudden your son's 4 and your daughter's 8 and they want to go to every game and they really want to watch you play, and you're making $80 million a year, which by then, if I don't know if he signs another max deal in 4 more years, would be a $90 million, or whatever on a 3-year deal. Does that keep him around longer? The one thing too is his game will translate because he doesn't live above the rim. He doesn't play like Giannis. So his game should withstand the test of time.
Is he one of those guys? I mean, there are some guys who, don't have to love it to be great at it. I never got the sense that he loves it. He just happens to be one of the best in the world at it. Is that the right impression, or am I off?
I think you're off. And this is where we have to rely on other people. And there's a great book. I actually have it upstairs that Mike Singer wrote, who was with the Denver Post, now works with the team. That's called Why So Serious. And it takes us back to when he's a kid and he'd rather be at the horse track. Literally, his best friend's dad runs the horse facility, and he'd rather be there. The kiddo, the friend, wants to play basketball, but he's so good. And like if there's a game, he's excited. Practice, he hated, and he wasn't in the best shape and all that. But when there's a game, he's really competitive. And so I say you have to talk to other people. Christian Brown let us in behind the curtain a little bit. The great Jayhawk. Early in the year, he goes, I
knew we'd get some propaganda. I knew it.
He said that, because we talk about his relationship with Jokers, he's going into the starting lineup. He goes, he texts me all the time. Hey, did you just see that pass so-and-so made? I was figuring he's watching Serbian Netflix or horse races all the time. Apparently he watches NBA basketball every night. And I heard, Bill Simmons, who's as big a basketball fan as we have in the media, watching Joker up close a couple times this year, including that playoff series in the Clippers. He's like, that guy is way too fired up during the game and yelling at his teammates, not in a negative way, but to just walk away from it. That's what he loves, is the competition, figuring it out. So he doesn't live and die with every NBA transaction. He doesn't care about the other stuff. I think he appreciates the money that comes along with playing on the court and now his shoe deal off the court. And he doesn't, at All-Star Weekend, you don't see him at any events beyond what he has to be at. He's not at Kenny Smith's party or Shaq's party or whatever. But he loves figuring out, okay, how am I going to attack this defense? How are we going to win this game? How are we going to play the best possible basketball? So I think he's going to play longer than we think. And I think he loves basketball more than I realized. because when CB's telling us about how often he's texting him because he's watching, the Bucks and Hawks on League Pass, then you're like, okay, he cares about it a little more than we realize.
By the way, SF Indigo says Bratislava isn't in Serbia. I need a little light behind me that says this is a joke. It was a joke. Thank you very much.
Yes, he's from Sombor, Serbia, which I think is a few hours away from Belgrade.
It is great to catch up with you, man. Again, continued success with what you're building. We're trying to build a little something out here. Individual builders are taking over sports media. So continue it, brother. It's great to see you. Great to catch up. And man, you ever need anything from the Bay, give me a shout.
I absolutely will. And if I don't talk to you or see you sooner or later, I think I'll talk to you during the season. I plan on seeing you Super Bowl week there in the Bay Area. And maybe if some of these predictions are right, including today where USA Today picked the Broncos to win the West. And if you win win your division, who knows? Maybe the Broncos will be there just like they were in Super Bowl 50, but I'm not ready to bet on it just yet.
Not yet. It's a little early. Let's get through at least halftime of the first preseason game before we're making our bold Super Bowl predictions. Brandon, thank you so much, man. Great to catch up. And again, first round at the Dubliners on me, brother. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Damon.
There he is, Brandon Cristal, one of the absolute best at covering everything coming out of Denver. That guy right there is great at what he does and has been for a really long time. Again, he's one of the best radio producers I ever got the pleasure to work with. I mean, there was a reason why he was at that network level, and you got to earn your way there. Great guy. So, look, thank you everyone for being here today. Hit like and subscribe this Friday afternoon, and I'm going to encourage everyone to know that we will be having our live stream watch party. We're set up to be your perfect second screen, if you will, for 49ers and Denver Broncos. I don't know if we're going to go all four quarters. Like, we're not going to take the concept of a watch party in the preseason that seriously, but let's find out. Let's find out what that fourth quarter looks like. Maybe it'll be a good enough game to keep us all around for it. But the weather's nice here in the Bay Area, so that'll suck you outside for sure. Look, if you are going to be inside all season long watching football, and I know a lot of you will, I saw a really interesting article today about the amount of money you need to spend to make sure that you have the ability to watch any single football game that's going to be on this year. You want to watch the whole thing? Well, here we go. To watch the entire NFL season, it's going to cost you over $1,000 to just sit on your couch. This isn't going to a game. This is just over the couch. You need ESPN direct to consumer now, maybe. Okay, that's going to be $29.99 a month. Amazon Prime, $14.99 a month. You're going to need Peacock. That's $11.99 a month. You're going to need Paramount. That's $11.99 a month. You're going to need Fox One. That's $19.99 a month. You will need Netflix. That's $22.99 a month. And that one time, make sure you got it all, your Sunday ticket, that is $480 up front, nearly $500 right there. You put it all together, we're talking $1,171.64. And I don't think there's a single football fan who wouldn't consider paying that if they have the means to do it. I mean, we are addicted to this sport in this country like no other sport, like nothing else. There is nothing in the world of athletics that we are injecting directly into our veins like we do football. And just having a little football on TV again last night, God, it was fantastic. I'm watching Raiders and Seahawks and all these backups and nobodies and block kicks and rooting for, a tie game or overtime. Like, go for it. Just try to score. I don't like all these field goals. But there should be no preseason field goals unless Jake Moody really needs to work on them. But this is a great time of year. It really is. Everyone's still got a little bit of hope. And to maintain that hope, the 49ers got to get out of this preseason as healthy as possible. And this is something that we were just talking about, Brandon. This is something that Kruger and I were talking about too. How do you properly use the preseason to get ready for the regular season? Some guys throw their dudes out there and they want them to play. Iron sharpens iron. And there is truth to that. There is another truth that if the wrong guy gets hurt, your entire season is dead on arrival. I mean, it's really what it is. So where do you strike that balance between asset protection and getting ready for the year by developing the callus? I think that is a question that every single NFL team is constantly asking itself in the preseason. And that makes what the 49ers are going through a little bit more interesting too, because some of the guys that have to be out there in preseason games because it's their first taste of professional football are your rookies. Yet the 49ers are going to be leaning into their rookie class to get them through a regular season like never before in the Kyle Shanahan era. I guess I can take these off now. But this is the balance beam, the tightrope that this entire preseason walks on for the 49ers. Here are your 5 things to watch on Saturday. And hopefully watch them here together as we're live streaming, and hit like and subscribe and notify so you don't miss a thing. Obviously, the rookies on defense. We're just talking how to use them, when to use them, who looks good, who looked good enough and proved themselves enough to where you're comfortable pulling them off this field, and then just get your camp bodies in there. And I don't want to say what happens to those guys doesn't matter, but if CJ West just looks fantastic in the first half, I think you got to almost treat him like a veteran. Get him off the field. Don't have him out there in the second half. This team can ill afford any more middle of their defensive line, defensive tackle injuries. They're going through enough right now. I don't want to see George Kittle even allowed in the stadium on a game day in the preseason. He doesn't need to be there. Nick Bosa doesn't need to be there. Fred Warner doesn't need to be there. Deommodore Lenoir. In an ideal world, you'd like to see a player that young get more run, but he's so important to this team secondary this year. He's too important to get hurt in the preseason. If Deommodore Lenoir gets hurt right now, you're kind of fucked. So be very, very careful. I tell you, man, that injury to it's not even the Mikael Williams hyperextended knee that scared me. What scared everybody in the world of football was the news that came out of the Los Angeles Chargers. They just extended tackle Rashawn Slater, who is one of the best young players at the position. He inks a 4-year, $113 million deal, and before he can play a snap of that extended contract, he ruptures a patella tendon against air. That's bad, man. So not only did you sink a bunch of money into a player who just hurt himself standing up, he's now damaged goods going forward. A young career, how will it recover? There's no doubt, medicine and surgery and doctors are better than ever, but you don't want to hand somebody over $100 million and the first thing they hand you is a trip to the hospital. That's bad. That is bad. And that is just such a cautionary tale. And again, that happened in practice. It wasn't even a preseason game. Anybody getting hurt in meaningless football, even well-intended meaningless football, like practice is important. You play like you practice. God, it's just devastating when something like that happens. The 49ers can't afford that at so many different levels, man. They cannot afford that. Let's see. It's kind of a quick show for you today. I mean, there's no more preamble. We're going to have actual football to talk about tomorrow. Actual football to watch tomorrow. 5:30, baby. Tribe is saying, hey, Brandon Cristal looked in better shape than half of the 49ers seniors. So look, the 49ers might be a little bit older, but this is not a fat, out-of-shape football team. Come on. I did hear that our buddy Jason McBride, who has been my Denver insider forever, the official brother the Blues, might be joining us for a bit during the preseason game. I'm going to send him a link. He can click on it if he can get over. That should be an awful lot of fun, and it'll be great to be hanging out with you once again, really. There's no reason to just mess around here. I heard the Giants are still playing baseball. I don't really care. Not this weekend anyways. I heard that Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors are still going back and forth with the stalemate that never ends. Guess what? I don't really care. Not this weekend. Football is back, which means I have to push this.
Maximum
I am so ready. I am ready. Okay, so ready? Time for a little Today in History. As always, we start with happy birthdays. Happy birthday to Dustin Hoffman. 87 years old now, man. Dustin Hoffman. Go back and watch Rain Man. It's one of the greatest performances ever captured in a movie. Was it Little Big Man, an old Dustin Hoffman movie? Incredible, incredible movie. I like Dustin Hoffman. He's always been great. Happy 43rd birthday to Roger Federer. We got another birthday today. He's a boxer, Ryan Garcia. He's 26. He's equal parts very good at what he does and might be crazy. So he's an interesting guy. Moving along to historical data. Happy birthday to the concept of coins here in the United States. Today in 1786, coinage was established by Congress. Let's use coins. It's amazing that we still have the penny. It really is. Here's something that is kind of interesting, especially if you're a Cal grad like my wife. But, you know, we don't do post-mortem birthdays. Like if this is the day a famous person was, we don't really go into this famous person was born today, but they're no longer with us type of birthdays when we do our happy birthdays. But this is significant enough to tell you about. Today in 1901. American physicist Ernest Orlando Lawrence, winner of the 1939 Nobel Prize for Physics and inventor of the cyclotron, the first particle accelerator to achieve high energies, was born in South Dakota. Besides, though, his work in nuclear physics, besides this being one of the greatest physicists of all time, Lawrence Berkeley National Library and the Lawrence Livermore National Library in Livermore were named after this guy. The Lawrence Labs in Berkeley were named after this guy, as was element 103, Lawrencium. He got to name an element after himself. I'm sure for reasons based in science, all of that is important. But who gives a shit? What this guy did is more important in another field than anything else he did. Did you know that Lawrence invented and patented a color television picture tube? We have color television because of him. So keep your elements, keep your charts, keep your libraries, keep your lab buildings, keep your buildings named after you on campus, and all that crap. This guy gave us color TV. If that isn't making the world better, I don't know what is. Imagine if you had to watch this weekend's preseason game in black and white. Oh, you'd be pissed. You really would. Oh, hey, by the way, Levi Stadium blinks now, everybody. Whippy. Oh, this is important. Today in 1969, at a zebra crossing in London, that's what they call crosswalks in London, a photographer named Ian McMillan took what is arguably the most famous picture in rock and roll history, the Beatles crossing the street on Abbey Road. The cover of Abbey Road is iconic. The picture that hit that cover was taken today in 1969. Today in 1974, Richard Nixon resigned as president. Can you imagine that? A president who is so ashamed of committing crimes that they would actually be encouraged by their party to resign because you're no longer good for business. Can you imagine that right now without getting political? I can't. Today, in 1989, Space Shuttle Columbia took off on a secret 5-day military mission. It landed at Edwards Air Force Base in California 5 days later on August 13th. And that's all we know. Did you know that they used the space shuttle for a military mission? What did they use it for? That's all we know. I think I know a little bit more. They used it to put a satellite, some spy satellite up there. That's what the military did. That's why this is the dawn of satellite technology. So there you go. That's what was happening. I'm on to you. I'm going to figure it out. Today, in 1991, the Warsaw radio mast, which at the time was the world's largest structure from 1974 until its collapse today in 1991, the Warsaw radio mast, the tallest thing that at the time had ever existed on Earth, fell over in Poland. Which begs the question, how many Polacks does it take to build the world's tallest radio tower? Apparently one more than they actually used because the damn thing fell over. For your statistical height interest, do you know what is the tallest thing on the world right now? Whether it be a tower, a building, a structure, or whatever, the single tallest thing on the planet right now is still the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. The Burj Khalifa, 2,717 feet tall. The Warsaw radio mast was 2,120 feet tall. So they've gone up another 500 feet for the Burj. Space Force, Joe Schmo, Space Force, baby. There you go. I got an Abbey Road shirt, wearing it today. Don't you love when coincidences like that just happen? Like, you didn't know today was the day that the picture of the Abbey Road shirt was taken, but you're wearing it? That's cool. Even cooler, especially since this show is conceptually a sports show, at least conceptually. 1992, today, the U.S. men's Olympic basketball team, the Dream Team, easily defeated Croatia to win the gold medal in Barcelona. Still, my favorite quote from the entire Dream Team professional basketball player experience was Charles Barkley, asked about his opening game. Charles, what do you know about Angola? I know they in trouble. That's still one of the greatest answers ever. Hey, Chuck, what do you know about Angola? I know they in trouble. Fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see. On a much sadder note than winning a gold medal in 92, we jump all the way to 2023, just 2 years ago today, August 8th. The wildfires on the island of Maui basically obliterated Lahaina. And it's one of the worst fires of all time. You know, an ancient Hawaiian city wiped out. That just brutal. You know, that it never be the same, right? So that had just already 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Finally, today is International Cat Day. I'm a dog guy, but I'm not anti-cat. I've always liked cats. Cats are cool. Here's the thing. If you got a jackass cat, you're not going to like the cat. But if you got a cool cat, you're going to like that cat. So for you cat lovers out there, happy International Cat Day. It is a gorgeous day here in San Francisco in my neighborhood, which means outside of my neighborhood, San Francisco's got some sundress conditions going on right now, which means if you're over in the East Bay, it's probably 110 degrees already. So good luck to you. But I want to say thanks so much for watching. And please do remember that today is the last day without a 49ers football game for the next, 6 months, basically. I mean, you know, I don't get one every day, but it's the last time that you'll be in a week that you didn't have a 49er football game. Thank God. It's back. I needed it back. You needed it back. We all needed it back. I need you to come back tomorrow for that live stream, the in-game watch party that we'll be having. Hopefully you plan on being here. Hopefully you plan on ordering Ike's this weekend. Again, a very special Ike special going on right now. He's got a buy one, get one free online only for Ike sandwiches. Use the code BOGO50. That's buy one, get one. Excuse me. Did I say buy one, get one free? I did not mean that. I meant buy one, get the second sandwich 50% off of equal or lesser value by using the online promotional code BOGO 50 when you're ordering Ike's. That promotion here in International Sandwich Month is done on Sunday. So you do that. Maybe you head to the Dubliner. Look at it this way. If you can't be with me for the live watch party, hopefully you can get to the Dubliner West Portal to watch a little 49ers and Broncos preseason tilt. In the meantime, I thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our guest, Brandon Cristol, for coming on by. Thanks to Sam Batesh for a great week of shows. Thanks to Larry Kruger for an awesome wake up today. You need more Niner content. You can go find that live stream existing out on the interwebs for you right now. Thanks to all of you. Have a good one. Have a safe one. And hopefully you're back here on Saturday at 5:30. And if not, then we're doing it again Monday, 11 a.m. West Coast time. We'll see you there. In the meantime, please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, he's gone.